One of the things that Benzo does that's secretly maybe one of the most destructive, self-defeating things, easily overlooked, is that it destroys our self-esteem. Not only our self-esteem, it destroys our self-efficacy, our ability to believe that we can achieve the goals that we set. It's that voice in our head that says, I can't do this. I can't do it. I don't have any efficacy. I have no self-efficacy. I can't do it. It's too hard. Whereas self-esteem is a sense of worth. I'm not good enough to do it. I'm not worth, coming back from this. I've done too many bad things. I'm somehow undeserving, right? Like that's the self-esteem part of it. Self-efficacy, I can't. I'm just not, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough to achieve this goal. Self-esteem, I'm not good enough. So those are two important things that we need to understand the difference, distinction between, and also be able to consciously look at our life and see how those might apply. And I think they apply for most of us. So if you're listening to this and you go, this doesn't even apply to me, I got great self-esteem and self-efficacy in the middle of a benzo taper, God bless you. You're one of the very few that I know of. I think all of us, most of us, it destroys our sense of self-esteem. When you're, especially, I don't want to say especially as a man, I think it's demoralizing for every one of us, but as a man, I can speak, when you're, call it social norms or whatever, when you're expected to go to work, bring home the bacon, so to speak, be a provider, be strong, be the rock for the people around you, and you find yourself in this completely debilitating place where you can no longer work, or you can't work as many hours, or, God forbid, you had to protect your family. If somebody showed up aggressively in a situation, your panic attack, alarm would just ring, and you'd probably want to go down to your knees and in a fetal position. I mean, it's super defeating. I mean, and that's not to say guys should be macho or none of that stuff. Of course not. But I'm just saying, just the feeling of being an important, productive person of your family, and when that gets taken away from you, you just feel so bad. You feel so terrible. You feel so small, and they can't understand it completely. They can't see the blood. They don't see any bruises. They kind of, in the back of their head, sometimes go, well, gee, can't you, just toughen up, man, walk it off a little bit. It's like they can't see the complete devastation that's underneath it all. And so when self-esteem goes and self-efficacy goes, but especially self-esteem, once you start feeling like you're not good enough, boy, you're opening the doorway for depression, which has already been beating on your door, beating on the front of your house like the big bad wolf this entire time while you've been going through benzo taper and recovery, right? It's not just anxiety. It's benzo and, it's GABA, it's cortisol, and these parts of the brain, but it's depression, man. It's the depression that gets us. It's the depression and the hopelessness and the despair, of never healing and not going through this anymore. And it's all tainted, like anything with depression. It's all tainted by our perception of self and world and our place. I'm not a good family man. I'm not a good employee or son or father, mother, daughter, wife. I can't do it anymore. I can't, and that's troublesome, because obviously it can lead to the worst profound outcomes, taking your own life or laying in bed, giving up. That's kind of another way of a slow suicide, or relapsing, or giving in kind of just blindly and taking 9 different medications your doctor may give you that maybe you shouldn't have been on, that maybe some good common sense would have guided you better in that situation. But look, when we are desperate, we will do anything, right? We will do anything. I often use the analogy that I heard about in the 9/11 attacks, that people that jump out of those buildings holding hands not afraid of falling to their death. It just, falling to their death was somehow less frightening than being burned alive. And that's what, I really think that's something that's very relatable to the benzo experience, because it is like being burned alive. And it's this fear and this despair that sets in, that says, this fire will never leave. And what you don't think of in that moment is all the pain and suffering you're going to leave for your family and everybody that loved you. And so again, people criticize me for trying to give too much hope, and I'm just telling people what they want to hear. It's not true. I just know enough from what I'm seeing. I see most people heal. Yeah, it's not as fast as we all would like. It's hell. It's tumultuous. There's nothing sort of profound about the experience, right? But we do heal. I don't subscribe to this notion that people don't heal. And I'm going to go on reminding you guys that you will heal and trying to give you hope, because you could give up and next month the whole thing could turn around for you. You know, and that's the thing. You gotta hold on. You just have to hold on. So self-esteem is a very important thing. And how do we keep self-esteem? By not blaming ourselves, by trying to get perspective on this. Okay? If you're in this situation, it's not your fault. You're not a medical doctor. You did what you were supposed to. You took it as prescribed. And even if you didn't, even if you abused it, even if you had some faults, you're human. So what? Who gets out of this life without making a mistake? For God's sake. I mean, there's a sense of love, self-understanding, and acceptance that is required that many of us probably struggle with before we ever took benzos, right? It's just something we might struggle with. So it's critical. If you want to foster self-esteem, you have to foster self-love.